It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you would call to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Nona Giddens. Did I get it right?
Nona Giddens.
Giddens. Okay. I want to make sure I got the last part right. So I don't know why I kept saying Gidders earlier. Giddens. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about, well, the 3 pillars of mental health fulfillment. What is mental health fulfillment? I'm going to ask her in a minute. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Shay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well today. Thanks for joining. And thank you to viewers for tuning in because we appreciate you. You have a lot of choices and you choose to be a part of the show today. So thank you. Before we get started, can we just address the elephant in the room? We're talking about mental health once again. I'm curious, in today's world, why, from your view of the world, and I notice a loaded question because you don't know everybody's situation, but why are people struggling with mental health? I mean, we have AI, and you can go to AI and say, I'm having a mental health challenge, and it can tell you everything you need to do, like right away. They can go on Instagram or YouTube and say, let me watch a video on how to turn my mental health into positive mental health, yet people are walking around struggling. Why is that the case?
One of the primary reasons is because while you can go to AI, to Chat GPT, and some of the other ones, they can tell you what to do, but what AI can't tell you is how to do it. It's a long gap. It's a big gap between what and how. And by coming to someone such as myself, a mental health therapist, I can help you figure out the path that you need to take to the how. And that's something that AI is not able to do.
I love it. And there's people that are
Not
watching.
personal. It's not personal.
That's perfect. And there are people who are watching saying, Shay, I showed up because I'm either going through a mental challenge now or I know someone. So don't worry. I'm going to ask her what you can do if you got to help someone. But you might be like Shay Brown. I mean, I had DC public school. I went to DC public schools, and I'm wondering mental health fulfillment. Like, what is mental health fulfillment? What is that? Can you break it down for people like Shay Brown, please?
I sure can. So when we talk about mental health fulfillment, Shay, we're talking about doing more than simply enduring life or surviving life. We're talking about actually being in a position to where you're living life and you're living it to the fullest. We're talking about doing more than just being in a position where life is lifing, but learning how to respond, learning how to make decisions in response to life lifing. And that's where you start living life rather than simply enduring life or surviving life.
I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, I know some of you know who she is because she's famous all over the world. And some of you have read her bio already. Some of you already Googled her. You want to know who is this person. I'm going to ask her backstory in a moment, but I got to have another question. Only Shay Brown, because I know all of y'all are smart, intelligent folks. Is there a difference between being successful or being fulfilled? Or are they the same? Well, that's probably an unfair question. What's your definition of success these days? And then what's your definition of fulfill? Because I've found myself, and again, it's not a counseling session, ladies and gentlemen, but sometimes I feel like, man, wait a minute, I'm able to go on vacation. This is great, but yet something still seems to be missing. So what's the definition of success and fulfilled for you? What do those two mean and look like?
Um, they're going to look different for each person. However, when we're talking about success, you can have or be successful, but not truly be fulfilled. For example, would you say that Michael Jackson was successful? Would you say
Yes.
that Prince was successful?
Yes.
These were very successful people. They checked off certain boxes, but when it came to fulfillment, we know through history and hindsight that their life was didn't have a lot of fulfillment. So what success and fulfillment is going to be different for each person. However, When you look at mental health, when you look at being mentally strong, you being able to show up in an effective and responsive way to life, that is when we're talking about fulfillment. I can be successful, but how am I dealing with life's challenges? If my challenges are not financial, I'm successful and I'm making all the money in the world, but I'm having relationship issues. I'm having issues with past traumas or things like that. That's going to affect my ability to enjoy my success. So when we talk about fulfillment, we're talking about all those important areas of life coming together and being in harmony with one another. And that takes us beyond financial success. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of
I'm
sense.
sorry.
And just so you're a little familiar
Like
with,
here.
no, that makes a lot of sense. And
Okay.
just so I'll speak on behalf of our audience. And this is the last question, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask, who is she? What's her backstory? How does she know what she knows? But just so you know, our audience, most of them are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur. And I think you're equipped to maybe help them. They might be wondering, Shay, let her know that I'm a little burnt out and I'm struggling because people are dependent on me all the time and I don't have time for myself. And so let them know, Shay, I work a full-time job and I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Shay, I'm a mom or I'm a dad and I've got responsibilities. Shay, let them know I'm a parent, by the way. In case you don't know about this, I've got kids, and my kids have a schedule that I've got to keep up with. Oh, Shay, can you also let her know, by the way, I'm involved in my community? Like I'm that person that's out there doing things or a part of my faith community. And Shay, I got a lot going on. So here's the question. How does someone take time for themselves and not feel guilty because other people have been always looking to them? Does that make sense?
And that absolutely makes sense. And so here is a clear area of where we're talking about the difference between success and fulfillment. So you're successful as a dual entrepreneur. You're working a full-time job and you have your private business. But how are you doing when it comes to being that mom, being that dad, being a part of your faith community and all the other different hats that you wear? Do you know how to balance? Do you know how to prioritize time for yourself? Have you ever heard the statement, when you do what's best for you, you're doing best for your kids. You're doing best what's best for your family. And so knowing how to prioritize and take time out for yourself, knowing how to balance all of the different areas of your life, this is another area of success as well as fulfillment. And some people struggle with knowing how to do that. They know how to run the job, they know how to be the boss on their day job, they know how to parent, but do they know how to balance it all? Do they know how to bring all of those components of their lives together in a healthy and a balanced way? And some people may even challenge, like, is there real balance? Well, you may have to give a little bit more here or a little bit more there, but sometimes we need help in figuring out just how to do that. And that's
I
not
love
something
that.
that AI can always help you do. You need a real person who has probably gone through some of those challenges as I have. So I was a single parent. I was running behind my son in all of the different extracurricular activities that he had while, working that full-time job in all of those other areas of responsibility also. So yeah.
And as you was just talking, you was just giving us a sneak window into your backstory, a little about who you are. And I think it's a perfect segue. So if we can continue down that path, for those folks that are like, I'm in the kitchen cooking, Shay, but I like what I'm hearing. Shay, I'm at the gym or I'm in the car, I got the podcast on, I'm listening to the replay right now. Or maybe we're just playing in the background right now. You're like, Shay, I need to hear this type of message, but who is she? If you can, slow down, tell me your backstory. And then what was that defining moment that you decided you're going to raise your hand, you're going to sign up to help other people so they can live a life full of clarity, a life full of fulfillment, and a life full of joy?
Right, right, right. So I have a master's degree in clinical psychology. I am a veteran. I was in the military for 8 years, a mom, single parent. And so when I got out of the military, I got on the path. I cannot really tell my story without talking about God, because God is the one that actually put me on this path. And so, I was directed to go down the path of psychology. And I was very resistant. Initially, it's like, no, that's not what I want to do. I had my mind focused in a different direction, but eventually I decided to go on ahead and follow that path. And there are some other nuances to my story, but here's the most significant part. Like many people, if not most people, I do have a history that required me to get into some therapy. I had some things I had to work through, some challenges I had to overcome, and all of that. And one of the things that I came to understand is that having been down this road myself, that would absolutely inform how I showed up as a therapist. So there is no aspect of my life or my journey that I have not been able to use as a therapist, to use as someone guiding someone else, and being a part of their journey and helping them to figure some of these life challenges out with. So,
Thanks for being so authentic. Thanks for sharing about your background. And in my little teeny circle, because there's going on 8 billion people in the world these days. I'm just in a little circle, but in the little circle I'm in, might not be everybody else's view. There's this negative, I'll call it that, stigmatization when you go get help. And I'll just talk about my circle. So, ladies and gentlemen, this might not apply to you, but there's saying was just go to the church. They're going to pray for you, and the minister's going to make sure everything is going to be all right. Take a moment and talk about, if there is a difference, and why folks, even if you believe, which I'm a believer, and you go down that route, while it's still okay to seek outside help, because sometimes, not sometimes, many of the circles I'm in, they're like, oh, no, I don't do that. Why is it important, even after you have the faith and the prayer, to still get outside help?
okay, I'm going to follow your question, Shay, with this question. If there's a physical problem in your body, yes, you're going to pray about it. And after you get finished praying about it, you're going to get up off your knees and you're going to the doctor, right? I don't know what it is about the mind and the emotions that people don't think the mind and the emotions require the same kind of skill and expertise that physical ailments in the body require. The brain and the mind, they are as important, and they need the kind of special help that someone with cancer needs, that someone with back issues need, that someone that, let's take allergies and sinus problems, for instance. We don't pray about it and then say, okay, I'm just going to pray about it and everything will be okay. We go to the doctor. When your baby has issues with ear infection, you take the baby to the doctor. You don't just pray about it and then let your baby continue to hurt. We pray and then we move. And it's the same when it comes to mental and emotional issues. Just like God has raised up and trained all kinds of doctors, He's done the same thing in the field of psychology. He has raised us all up to be helpers and to help bring relief and comfort to those that are in need.
Well said. And one of the promises of today was that there's 3 pillars, and these 3 pillars can help with your mental health fulfillment. I know some of you are curious. Say, Shay, don't forget about those 3 pillars. I saw it. She's going to talk about 3 pillars of health fulfillment. What are they? So I can see if I have them and what my status is. So I know we got sidetracked, ladies and gentlemen, but don't worry. I'm going to answer that question now. What are the 3 pillars of mental health fulfillment that we should be aware
Yeah,
of?
absolutely. There's emotional resilience, there's self awareness, and then there's balance. We talked about balance earlier. When we're talking about emotional resilience, we're talking about getting to a place where we're mentally and emotionally strong. to where we can start responding to situations versus reacting to them. When we are mentally strong, we are reflective and we're able to make choices about how to respond to life, about how to respond in our relationships, on our job. That mental strength gives us the ability to respond versus react. Then there's self awareness. When we're talking about self awareness, we're talking about um, with therapy and coaching, we can learn the patterns that we typically engage in. We can learn how to start breaking cycles. And again, when we're talking about breaking cycles and learning these patterns, we can then start choosing different ways. We can make better decisions about, for example, people that we enter into relationships with, right? Because again, we understand patterns and we understand what's going into why we are making certain decisions. So this is something that getting that therapy and coaching will help us do. It will bring us into more self-awareness and understanding of ourselves. And then again, again talking about balance, learning how to balance all of the many aspects of our lives and bringing those things in harmony with each other so that we're working together with those things as opposed to those things tearing us apart and pulling us in, so many different directions. But we can learn these things, and that's something that you get from being in therapy and from getting that coaching assistance. So those are the three pillars again: emotional resilience, self-awareness, and balance.
I love it. That balance, that's a beast at the end, by the way. I know the B and the B, double
Yes, it is.
alliteration, but that balance is really a beast. This is a perfect segue to a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. In fact, you can go ahead and say those magical words right now. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way. Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel good? And for all the new folks that want to know, what is Shay talking about? We're going to find out in a moment if Nona's had any setbacks in her life. But today is my January 1st is our personal mantra here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is back there, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Nona on the other side is really twofold. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And number two, was there ever a time in your life, maybe it's been perfect, that there was a setback? And if so, how did you bounce back from it yourself?
Um, there have been multiple setbacks, and the way that I bounced back from them was to first recognize and acknowledge I got some issues here and I need to get help in dealing with them. Okay. That was it. Making the decision to get the help, making the decision to break the cycle, to break the mold, if you will, choosing to no longer allow cultural stigmas and things of this nature to define how it is I decide to show up and how I decide to deal with what's going on. So I've had a number of January 1st because, like everyone else, I haven't always um, known how to make the best decisions because, again, I have a past just like many people do. And so you live out of your past, but then you decide, this is too much. I want to do something different. I want to change my future. And so that's pretty much what I did. I made the decision to get help. And so that's how I turned life around, getting the help that I needed.
Well said. Thanks for being authentic. Thanks for sharing, by the way. And one of the questions I like to ask when we have time, and we do have a few minutes now, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given. Now I'm going to frame it for the audience so they know we're not actually come off the mountain with the 10 Commandments here, by the way. We know you read more books you can remember these days, I'm sure. Certainly you've had mentors. 10,000 hours is a joke these days. I do that with my thumb on the weekend scrolling, right? So you've got the timing, but if you just step back and say, man, Chef, all the advice I've been given, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've been given, and here's why. What would you say to the audience?
Okay, if you allow me, Jay, I want to share two.
Go ahead.
One was as a result of life happening when I was young. I dropped out of college, and that's when I joined the military. And my best friend's mother gave me this piece of advice. She said, "Do not make a habit of starting something and not finishing it." Those words stayed with me. Those words were the reason that I got back in school and I finished college. Those words are the reason that I'm sitting here today because while I had to drop out of college, she said, don't let that be your pattern. Don't let that be your habit. And so that plays a direct role into the whole idea of understanding your patterns, understanding how you move, understanding that, and then being able to make decisions to turn things around, to do things differently. Um, and I said all that, Shay, and I forgot the second thing that I was going to say.
Well,
So
you said you had
I
2 points.
apologize for that.
Yeah, that's fine. The question was, what's one of the best pieces of advice you ever been given? You said I want to do two, and you told us about the
Right.
one advice, which is don't start and then stop. Was there a second piece of advice you wanted to share?
There was, but it escapes me right now. So
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
There's no mental. I want you to get stressed over there. It's fine. No, I'm joking.
Right, 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 right,
I could resist that.
right.
Um, you
Good.
know, what do you enjoy most about what you're doing? Because as you start talking about this, you get excited. You're getting excited about teaching people how they can. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days?
You know what, Shay? I take it as such an honor and a privilege to be on people's journey with them, to be a guide on that journey, and to help people to understand that you can do more than survive life. You can actually live life. So just being a part of that and seeing the change that comes into people's lives because they get the help that they need. That I mean, that's the greatest feeling. I had a client years ago, and when she had gotten to the place in therapy where she was, ready to go off on her own, one of the things that she would tell everybody is that she graduated from therapy and the excitement and the joy that she felt, knowing that she now had the tools and the skills that she needed to be successful in life, but also in her relationships. Yeah, that's an amazing feeling. An amazing feeling.
I love it, by the way. Thanks so much for sharing, by the way. You talked about success. You talked about what it looked like. But for the person that has to work with someone, and again, a loaded question, but here's what it is. Let's say Shay Brown has to work with someone and they have mental health challenges. I don't have mental health challenges, but they do. But they're in my life, and I want to be supportive. I want to ask them every day how they doing, I guess. But my question to you is, what recommendations do you give? Maybe one or two pieces of advice that you can have for someone that has to support a family member or a loved one that they have mental health challenges, but we want to be supportive. What do you normally recommend to folks? Or is it impossible to do?
It is. I think one of the things that we need to do, just in general and culturally, is we need to combat the stigma against mental health and getting help. So we need to start having within our families, within our communities, we need to start having more conversations about mental health, more conversations about getting help so that we can normalize mental health in the same way that physical health is normalized. So having the conversation and saying, if you decide to get help, I'm here. I can support you. I agree with you. Do what you think that is best for you. If getting help is that, then do that, and I support you. So we really do need to start normalizing mental health because people are not afraid to go to the doctor today. They were years ago, but not today. And we need to get rid of the stigma surrounding mental health and help people to feel encouraged as well as supported to get the help.
Thank you. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world and helping people with mental health? How do you relax? How do you enjoy life? What are some cool things you like to do?
I like to go on my weekend dates with my husband. I like to hang out with friends. We travel. We have an upcoming trip in 2 weeks where we'll be going down to Florida. We go out of the country. But the biggest thing that I do is when I leave this chair, when I leave my office, I turn it all off and I completely disconnect. I don't carry anything that I've heard during that day. I don't carry it out of my office with me. And that's a major challenge for a lot of people. They take their work home. If they work from home, they leave the office, they take the work out of the office. So that was something that I had to learn very, very early on in my career. And that was how to leave the issues of the people that I'm working with, how to leave them in the office, pick them back up the next day. So I hang out with my husband, my boyfriend, husband and boyfriend, same man, hanging out with him and friends, traveling, getting involved with the different things around the Atlanta community and leaving work at work.
I love it. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? For those folks that want to contact you, they want to stay in this conversation over and beyond, or they want to, get more information, what should they do and where should they go?
Okay, so my practice is primarily geared towards athletes, entertainers, and entrepreneurs. They can reach me through my website, healingmindslifecoach.com. That's HEALINGMINDS, life, LIFE, coach, COACH.com. That's where they can reach me at. And when they get to the website, if they click on book a session, a contact form will come up. They fill it out and submit the form, and someone will be in touch with them soon after that.
Wow. Well, let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time, and you give us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. Thank you, Shay, for having me.
And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, we don't have a show. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're doing really well and you're going to that next level of success and fulfillment, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We out of here. Peace. Man, do we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on here. We'll talk to you later. God bless and keep doing God's work. Bye-bye.